Howard, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Amaditz?
Here.
Mrs. Buckley?
Here.
Mr. Christensen?
Here.
Mrs. Cook?
Here.
Mrs. Dobus?
Here.
Mr. Means?
Present.
Mrs. Rule?
Here.
Mr. Spacuzza? Mr. Workmeister?
Here.
We have 8 members present.
Thank you. Are there any, I need an intent to adopt the agenda for business items.
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. Any public comments tonight on agenda items? Agenda items only. Seeing none, we'll move into the appointment of a president pro tem. I need a motion to appoint.
I move that Mrs. Rule be appointed to President Pro Tem.
Okay.
Second.
Are there any other nominations? I need someone to move to close the nominations then.
Well, for the appointment of the president pro tem, I think you're just making, the way your agenda is set out, you're just making a motion ballot.
Okay. All in favor of Mrs. Rule as the president pro tem?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0.
Well, while you're passing the gavel, I will say, for the other officers, even though your agenda states this, you only need a motion for, somebody only has to nominate somebody. There doesn't have to be a second on a nomination. So once you're nominated, you're automatically on the ballot unless you decline. So you don't need to have a second to be nominated.
Okay. We are now going to have the election of officers. I'm now taking nominations for president.
I nominate Donna Cook for president.
Are there any other nominations?
I move that nominations be closed.
Second.
Okay. Then Donna, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Mrs. Cook, now president.
Well, that was a motion, that was you just voted to close the nomination. So now you
Okay, now we'll
need
move to, okay,
a vote for Ms. Cook.
for the president.
So we do a roll call vote on that, right?
Right.
Yes.
It's been a year
You can
since we
just
did that.
state who you're voting for, please. Mr. Amaditz?
Mrs. Cook?
Mrs. Buckley?
Mrs. Cook?
Mr. Christensen?
Mrs. Cook.
Mrs. Cook?
You can vote for yourself.
Donna Cook.
You're allowed.
Mrs. Dobus?
Mrs. Cook.
Mr. Means?
Mrs. Cook.
Mr. Rule?
Donna Cook.
Mrs. Rule, I apologize.
That's all right.
Mr. Workmeister?
Mrs. Cook.
Mrs. Cook was elected 8-0.
Okay. Nominations are now open for vice president.
Oh, now, sorry, Connie, I don't mean to take the gavel away from you, but you can turn it back over to Mrs. Cook.
Oh, she can go.
Yeah, now that she's been.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
you
did
know,
vote.
she's been elected, okay?
You're fired, Connie.
You're overthrown.
All right, the floor is open for nominations for vice president.
I nominate President.
Do we need a second? No, you confused me. We
No,
don't
no
need a second here. Are there any other nominations?
I move nominations be closed.
Now I need a second.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded for nominations to be closed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries 8-0. And we need a roll call on the vote for vice president.
Mr. Amaditz? Mr. Spacuzza? Mrs. Buckley?
Mr. Spacuzza?
Mr. Christensen?
Mr. Spacuzza.
Mrs. Cook?
Russ Spacuzza?
Mrs. Dobus?
Mr. Spacuzza?
Mr. Means?
Mr. Spacuzza?
Mrs. Rule?
Russ Spacuzza.
Mr. Workmeister?
Mr. Spacuzza.
Russ was elected 8-0, vice president.
Thanks, everyone. And now we're going to move on with business items. And we have Personnel Committee this evening, and Mrs. Rule.
There are There are 6 items under personnel. Are there any that anyone would like to have held up?
Number 5 and 6, please.
Which one?
5 and 6.
5 and 6. Okay. Any others? I move 1 through 4 be approved, 1 being approval of substitutes, 2 being acceptance of resignation, 3 being approval of leave of absence, and 4 being appointment of personnel.
Second.
Items 1 through 4 under Personnel Committee have been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any discussion on any of these items?
Excuse me, one comment on, Mr. Minch will be securing a substitute for the position at IMS during this time. At this given point, unfortunately, he's still working through that process, so the individual may need to start based upon this absence prior, and we would be looking for retroactivity at the January meeting. So it's more of just a piece of information.
Yeah, we're down to discussion 1 through 4, so that was the
Okay.
discussion for that.
I'd like to, at this point, ask Rebecca Sawchuk to please.
Well, let's vote her in first. Let me-
Oh, I thought you did.
No, we didn't take the voice vote yet, so items 1 through 4. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Opposed.
and opposed? That carries 8-0. Now, Connie, you may introduce our new hire.
Rebecca Sawchuk, will you please stand up? Going to be your Okay, item 5. I move that we approve item 5, approval of staffing change.
Second.
Now, with that is clear the following health services aid.
Second.
Give me a second here. Item 5, under Personnel, has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Means. Any discussion of this item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That item carries 7-1. Mrs. Rule.
6, I move that we approve change of assignment. That's Kathy Barr from full-time health services aide at New Armstrong to full-time special education paraprofessional to high school effective January 2nd, 2017.
Second.
Okay. Item 6 has been moved by Mrs. Rule and seconded by Mr. Amidits. Any discussion of this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
That item carries 7-1. Finance Committee and Mr. Amidits.
Yes, we have 3 items under Finance Committee this evening. Would anybody want any of these held out for discussion? Hearing none, I move all 3 items, number 1 being the bill list for the December 2016 meeting, number 2, the November 2016 salaries and bills, and number 3, Ben Franklin Mechanical Room Renovation Project.
Second.
Items 1 through 3 under Finance have been moved by Mr. Amidits and seconded by Mr. Means. Any questions or comments on any of these items?
Dr. Pasquarello, could you give us a 30-second overview of number 3?
Sure. So number 3, we had some discussion in and around Benjamin Franklin. We did some work last year, and this new additional work was option C that included a generator, incorporating a generator to secure that. And in addition to that, it's also going to be replacing the chiller unit and also the boiler unit. In addition to that, it's also going to address lighting. We're going to be doing that in-house, where we're retrofitting the lighting to update the lighting for the building 1 room at a time throughout the year.
And for the record, these are long overdue changes that are needed, correct?
They are.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those carry 8-0. Other. Mr. Means, would you take other for me this evening, please?
Yeah, there are 3 items under other. Would anybody like any of them withheld? Okay, seeing no objections, I move that number one, the naming of the newspapers for advertising, which consist of the Post-Gazette, the Tribune Review, and the Almanac. Number two, settlement agreement and release. Number three, cancellation of the committee regular meeting on December 13th, 2016.
Second.
Items 1 through 3 under other have been moved by Mr. Means and seconded by Mrs. Buckley. Any questions or comments on any of these items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those items carry 8-0. And I apologize, Mrs. Flota gave me a note that our PTO representative is here to give a report for the PTO council. Sorry.
Are we here? Yep. Stand here.
Mike, please. Thank you.
No problem. Hello, my name is Renee Burkowski. I'm one of the co-presidents for William Penn Elementary. So I have the reports from just 3 schools. Since the meeting was rescheduled, we had some difficulty getting everybody to submit. So with Lincoln had its last PTO meeting of 2016 on November 3rd. The Lincoln PTO held a teacher appreciation dinner on November 15th to thank the teachers for all of their hard work. The PTO provided the main course while many parents volunteered to bring a variety of side dishes and desserts to help show appreciation. Additionally, Lincoln had a successful Yankee candle sale, and School Spirit apparel sale, both wrapped up in November. Lincoln's Saris candy sale has ended, and pickup date has been scheduled for December 13th. Lincoln PTO is hosting Cupcakes with Santa at the school in the evening of December 9th. The Santa Shop at Lincoln will take place December 7th through the 9th. New this year, Santa Shop will also be open for shopping the evening of the 9th at the Cupcakes with Santa event. Lincoln PTO parent-hosted Christmas parties will take place on December 22nd. Santa will be there at the parties to deliver gifts to each class from each classroom's wish list of items requested by the teachers for their class, including games for indoor recess time. The gifts are paid for by the PTO and purchased by each classroom's designated parent volunteer. And this is from George Washington. In November, the students at George Washington Elementary collected 3,107 box tops. The winning classroom collected 563 box tops and will receive 15 extra minutes of recess. Last Friday, the Cookies with Santa event was held. The kids made cards for the soldiers and donations were taken for care packages to be sent overseas for the holidays. Washington PTO is sponsoring a wish tree to help children in need this holiday season. George Washington Elementary is now sponsoring a shimmering food drive which will run until December 16th. Donations of non-perishable items are being taken to SHIM. The holiday gift shop is being held this week. All students will have a chance to come shop for their families during the week. On December 7th is the holiday sing-along at Bethel Park High School at 7 p.m. Come join us for a fun-filled evening of Christmas carols, band and string students, and a surprise guest. And lastly, this is from William Penn. As a part of William Penn's Character Counts program, the character trait that will be promoted for the month of December is patience. William Penn Kids with Capes delivered 168 pounds of donated food to SHIM on November 18th. Students and their families were given the opportunity to help sort the food and learn how the programs at SHIM benefit our community with a behind-the-scenes tour. Kids with Capes will be presenting the Canonsburg Police Department this Friday with an ornament to honor their fallen officer, Scott Basham, as well as posters and cards that were created by the students to show their appreciation to the officers. On December 2nd, William Penn held their holiday party, Pancakes and Pajamas. This event took place after school and included a pancake dinner, an ornament craft, and a special visit from Santa. They also had a selfie station set up for the kids to take pictures with their friends. They will be having a school assembly this Thursday, December 8th. It will be an anti-bullying assembly performed by Josh and Gabby, who are our local kid-friendly comedy team. December 16th will be their 4th grade dance. December 19th, William Penn will hold a music assembly that will be performed by the student body, as well as for the 4th grade parents. The Santa Shop will be held December 19th, 20th, and 22nd. And finally, the holiday parties at William Penn will be held on December 22nd. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sorry you had to wait through the meeting. Didn't know you were here. Any public comments that you wish to make to the board this evening? Seeing none, board members, if you're okay, since we need to have a quick executive session, we won't have board comments this evening. Is everybody okay with that? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Thanks.